I have been told that this is one of the easiest repairs to do in ham radio. This is the Kenwood TS-570d. You turn it on, it says hello, and you're presented at 14 megahertz frequency. We're going to spin the dial a little bit just to get off frequency, and then we're going to turn it off to demonstrate the problem. Let's turn it back on and see if it kept our frequency. And it did not. So the problem with this is the internal battery. So, I just bumped a VFO. I got myself a set of batteries, and I understand this is supposed to be super easy to repair. Let's get after it. This is a big radio. It's going to be tough to get it all in frame. I have my iFixit toolkit, and these look like JIS screws. Yeah, these look like JIS screws. So let me get my JIS screwdriver tip. This is a J1. Is this the right size? That will do. All right, there is all 4 screws on the top, 2 screws on the side, 2 screws on the other side. All right, that gets the top cover off. Next, there is a rubber band on the front here for your VFO knob. Pull that off, set it aside. And then down deep in there is an Allen head screw that we need to loosen to get the VFO off. All right, that is off. 2 tabs here. I wonder if there's 2 tabs on the bottom. I don't want to take the bottom cover off. This was supposed to be easy. Oh, 2 tabs on the bottom. I'm going to take the top and the bottom cover off in order to remove this front panel. Pulled off the 2 knobs over there. That is the RIT-ZIT knob and the multi-channel knob. Okay, so that you all can see what is going on here. These knobs on the side here are holding it in place, and they just slide on and slide off. So I pull the inner knob off first, then the outer knob off, and I sit them off to the side. And then the whole front panel comes off, which looks like it didn't need to be done. Excellent. All right, let's keep on moving. On the side here, get you a profile shot. On the side here, there are 2 screws. This top one comes all the way out, and I don't want to strip the head of that screw out. I'll go up a size. And then this bottom one just gets loosened up a bit, because this is a little lever type hinge there. Okay, flip the whole unit over. Top one all the way out, bottom one loose, and you can see it moving freely now. And I'm going to take a little block of something and sit underneath the radio. And as it hinges down, we can see the battery. Right there is our battery. So push that down and tilt it forward. Old battery goes out, and then we can get the new battery in place. Bring the radio back over, slide the battery in and tilt it down and let the spring tension shove it back up, and we are good to go. I guess while we're in here, we should take a look around since we've got it this far. So this front panel display is connected in by ribbon cables, and then you have some audio cables and microphone cables there. This is your VFO encoder, and then more encoders over here on this daughter card. And on the front here, we have a chip dated 1997 from Kenwood. We have another chip from NEC, another chip from Sony, all the big names. Let's put this front panel back into place. Where's my screwdriver? Okay, so completely unnecessary to remove the front cover, but we did it anyway. So now we got to put it back on. The VFO itself, nice solid. Feels like aluminum. Nice solid piece of aluminum there. All right, that's not going anywhere. That feels good. Put the rubber band back on. Perfect. Put our knobs back on. These are keyed. They can only go on one way for the RIT, XIT, and the multi-knob. So those are back on. And then these knobs are also keyed, so they can only go on one way. So you won't lose your range of motion there. And they have just enough tension on them that they feel good going back into place. We've got all the snaps back onto play there. Let's take a look at the bottom of the radio, since that one's more accessible. We've got a lot of little trimmer inductors around. We have an SSB filter installed. These gray cables are all coax jumpers that connect different sections of the radio. There's room here for an optional filter. because this radio is actually kind of hard to use on CW because of how wide the bandwidth is. What else do we have? This is the bottom board on the radio, so this is all of your different interface connectors. So this is your RS-232 serial port. This is your Morse code key. This is your Morse code paddle. This is your 13-pin accessory port. And this is your remote control port. And then external speaker. And then underneath of that is a heatsink. What is under door number 1? That was kind of stuck on there in a weird way. These are usually RF shields. You can put in a temperature-controlled crystal oscillator. That's nice. It went on super easy compared to how hard it was to take it off. Probably just stuck. Yeah, these are mildly adhesive after all these years. Let's put this part back on, then we can flip it over and look at the top side. Well, that's interesting. I didn't notice it when I took it out, but these are 2 different lengths of screws, and it looks like the shorter ones go on the outside here, and the longer ones go on the inside. You're screwing metal screws into metal, so you should notice that it's really easy to do, and if it starts to get more difficult than it should, then there's something going on. I shouldn't be cutting threads. All right, those are all back in. Let's flip her over and look at the top side. And usually the way these things are made, the speaker is on a disconnectable cable. This is a JST style connector. That seems very secure. So we can get that out of the way without having to undo the screws for the speaker itself. Okay, so on this side, we've got a power transformer. We've got a couple of Toshiba finals in there. These are 2 SC2879s. And then over here is your tuner section, relays to switch in and out different variations of capacitors and inductors and different values of inductance. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets. That's not bad at all. This actually does a fantastic job of tuning. There's a 4 amp fuse buried deep inside of the radio. A couple of Mitsubishi transistors here also. They are 3133s on the first 2, and then this bottom one here is a 1971. It's an interesting device there. It's labeled D26, which would let me think that it's a diode, but it looks more like it's some kind of fuse. I don't know. It's pretty big, whatever it is. Perfect. Let's see what's underneath of this shield, since we're in the shield removing mode. And the same thing, short screws on the outside, long screws on the inside. That case is easier to remove. Oh, that would explain why the tuner does so well. Because there's a lot of tuning going on in here. That's fantastic. Wow, I am impressed. So to tell you the truth, and I'm just talking out of school here, this looks like your tuning section, and this looks like your bandpass filter section. So different stages of capacitors, different stages of inductors with relays allowing you to toss different versions in different combinations. Beautiful. I love it. This thing looks great. Looks like this is going to give many happy future years of service. Have a little bit of compassion, a little bit of mechanical empathy for your screws. It goes a long way. So I turn it backwards and you hear that notch sound. That's the screw finding its starting threads. And then you can also kind of feel left and right if you're going in at the right orientation, as opposed to like diagonally. You're going in parallel to the threads. Would it be parallel? Is that the right word with helical windings? I don't know. Perfect. Let's put the speaker back on. These JST style plugs only go in one way, so you're not going to get that wrong unless you try really, really hard, but I don't recommend trying really hard to do something the wrong way. So that is in, and the speaker goes towards the front like so. This thing's been in play for a very long time, so it should kind of naturally find its own way back home. I'm going to put all of these screws in just a little loose until I get the last one in, because otherwise I could compound the twist going around the outside of the frame until this last screw doesn't line up over here. And so I don't want that. Okay, now it's time to put the covers back on. Let's put the bottom cover on since it's upside down already. Nope, that's the top. Okay, let's flip it over and put the bottom cover on. And there's the top cover. The speaker grill goes over the speaker. Some of this stuff really isn't rocket science. Some of this stuff really is. All right, no extra parts. Let's get it plugged in. Okay, here goes. We're gonna turn the power supply on. Hello, that's a fantastic sign. And of course, it didn't have any memories to remember because it already forgot them all. Let's tune this up. Let's turn off preamp. We're at 14,038. Power off. And we'll wait a couple of minutes for all the capacitors and everything to discharge. Turn the power supply back on. Hello, 14,038, preamp is off. Looks like the job is done. Fantastic. There is a video right over here I think you will enjoy next. Thanks for being awesome. I'll see you over there.